Hi everybody, this is Tom Passero, your BUS243 logistics instructor, and as promised I'm going to provide you with some instructional videos on how to solve problems in forecasting and inventory management. These problems are directly taken from the book, the textbook, by Sox and Company, and they're very similar to the ones that you'll be doing in your assignment set. Problem set 1. So let's move right into it. I am looking at a problem from the textbook having to do with forecasting, and this is problem 5 on page 419. And what we have here is a Ms. Kathleen Boyd, Director of Logistics for the Scenic Calendar Company, wishes to evaluate two methods of time series forecasting. She has collected quarterly calendar sales data from the years 2008 and 2009. And if you turn the page to 420, you'll see that I have replicated the same information that is in the top of page 420 of the text. Now, make sure that you understand that you should be reading this stuff first. So I'm just going to provide you with a way to do it. But all these techniques are in the textbook in the appropriate pages, and I've indicated the pages that you should probably be reading in this particular case for what we're going to call a moving average technique, page 141 of the text. So what do we need to do here? Well, the requirement says use moving averages technique to find forecasted sales for the third quarter of 2009 based on actual sales from the previous 3 quarters. Moving average is one of the more simpler ways to do quantitative forecasts. When I say quantitative, it means basically using numbers and algorithms and other type of formulas in order to forecast something, anticipation of something in the future. In this case, it's sales for the third quarter of 2009. So what I've done here is highlight those 3 periods that are going to be required for forecasting this particular period, which is the third quarter of 2009. So what you do in moving averages forecast technique is to use past data, and since the question is asking us to use the previous 3 quarters, I've highlighted in yellow what we're going to be using. So this is the one we're looking to find out the forecasted sales. So we're going to have to use 1, 2, 3 quarters in arrears, starting with the fourth quarter of 2008, then the first quarter of 2009, second quarter of 2009. And what I've done here is put down the formula as to what it would look like in order to figure out third quarter 2009 forecast. So the forecast for 2009 quarter 3 is going to be the actual demand of 2008 quarter 4, the actual demand of 2009 quarter 1, and the actual demand of 2009 quarter 2. And I'm going to add those up, sum them, and I'm going to divide it by 3. Why 3? Because that's how many periods we have in here. We want to take an average. So I did this below. 1,000 plus 1,300 plus 800 divided by 3 equals 1,033.333, or just round it down to 1,033. So that would be our forecast for 2009 quarter 3. Okay? All right. Let's move on now. The next part of this particular question says use simple exponential smoothing to forecast each quarter's sales in 2009. Given that, Ms. Boyd qualitatively forecasted 900 calendars for quarter 4 2008. Ms. Boyd has assigned an alpha factor of 0.1 for time series sensitivity. Okay, well, like I said, the first thing you should be doing is reading the chapter, especially with respect to this type of forecasting technique. All exponential smoothing is a forecasting technique that takes into account, in this particular case, two pieces of data: actual demand or sales and forecasted sales. And what it does is it uses what they call an alpha factor. In this particular case, it's 0.1, to place more or less weight on the demand and or the forecast. You're basically trying to figure out which you as a forecaster will rely most on. Here was what the formula looks like. Forecast T, and all that means is this is the time period you want to forecast, is equal to this alpha factor times the demand, which is basically the actual sales, of T minus 1, period T minus 1, basically the previous period, plus 1 minus the alpha factor times the forecast of period T minus 1, which again is the previous period you're looking at. So the question asks us to take a look at the entire forecasted sales for each quarter in 2009. Alright? So what we're going to try to do is use this formula to do just that. And you see I've already done it, but let's walk through the equations. Okay, so for the forecast for 2009 quarter 1, we're going to use the formula. We're going to take the alpha factor of 0.1 times the actual demand of the previous period. Where's the previous period? It's right here. Okay. Then we're going to add that to 1 minus the alpha factor, or 0.9, times the previous period's forecast. Now where do we get that from? Oh, it's right here. Remember? Ms. Boyd qualitatively forecasted 900 calendars for the quarter 4 2008. So now we have two pieces of data that we can use from the previous period in order to forecast the next period, 2009 quarter 1. And I don't know if you noticed, but apparently Ms. Boyd puts more emphasis on her forecast than her actual demand. Well, you can figure that out because this number here, the 0.9, is higher than the 0.1. So if we do the math, and actually I did it for you, we take 0.1 times 1,000, we take plus 0.9 times 900, and you come up with a forecast for year 2009 quarter 1 of 910 units. Alright, calendars. Alright, well, we have 3 more to do. We use the same formula. For forecast 2009 quarter 2, we have to take the previous period's demand and multiply that by the alpha factor. Well, the previous period, of course, would be right here, correct? It would be quarter 1 of 2009. That's the actual sales. And then we have to add that to our 1 minus alpha factor of 0.9 times the forecast of the previous period. Where would we get that? Well, right here, of course. It's the 910. And we're going to use that right here. Okay? That's where that comes from. Alright, so we have, to finish the equation, we have 0.1 times 1,300, which was the actual demand in quarter 1 of 2009, plus 0.9 times 910, which was the forecasted for the period of quarter 1 2009, right here. Alright, and if you add those up, multiply and add, you have 949. Okay? Let's do the next one. Forecast 2009 quarter 3. We have to look at the demand for actual demand for 2009 quarter 2, and that's 800. Got that from right here. Okay, and then we also have to use our previous period's forecast, and we did that just a second ago, right? 949, and that goes here. Doing the math, you have 0.1 times 800 plus 0.9 times 949, or 934. And then last but not least, our last forecast requirement, quarter 4 of 2009, we take the actual demand, which we got right here. We use the last previous forecast, which is right here, and then we add those together after multiplying them times the alpha factor and the 1 minus the alpha factor, respectively, and you come up with 866. Okay? Pretty neat, huh? So that satisfies part B. Now part C, we're not going to do it all, but what does it ask you to do? Part C, and I'm reading it from the textbook on page 420, it says, repeat the simple exponential smoothing problem above, part B, 5B, with Miss Boyd deploying an alpha factor of 0.2. Well, all you have to do is put in the alpha factor and do the same kind of equation. So here now it's 0.2 times the actual demand, but it's 0.8 times the previous forecast, which again, we're basically starting from scratch, only we're using a different alpha factor, and of course you got that from here. So it looks like Miss Boyd is putting less emphasis, slightly less emphasis on the previous period's forecast and a little bit more on the previous period's demand. Okay? And just for the record, if you were to multiply this out, 0.2 times 1,000 plus 0.8 times 900 is 920. Okay? Alright, so that's how you do moving average and simple exponential smoothing forecasting techniques. And these problems are extremely similar to the ones that you have in your problem set 1. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know and send me an email. We'll help you out. Bye-bye.